This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy and enjoyable story. Am I pretty? Serena asked as she sat in the passenger seat. Forget it. I'm a practical person. I believe in love that grows over time. She emphasized the words in a strange way. I knew it was an invitation. If I gave the slightest signal, or even stayed silent, things would naturally unfold. I met Serena at an auto show. She was a model for the Mercedes SUV, and I was the event coordinator. That day it rained, but she still had to wear a thin skirt. When she came down from the stage, her lips were blue from the cold. I instinctively took off my jacket to keep her warm. 2 days later, the dry-cleaned suit lay folded in my office. With a slip of paper tucked in the inner pocket, Serena's contact information. She knew I was married, yet still messaged me daily on WeChat. At first, I thought it was just a harmless distraction, that I could keep my boundaries. But gradually, her bright smile began to dominate my thoughts, until I couldn't shake her image. Looking at Serena's face, I knew very clearly, if I didn't stop now, something would happen. Then suddenly I fumbled, and something slipped out of my pocket. It was the diamond necklace I had promised to get repaired for my wife Haley, the one I gave her when I proposed. Like a bucket of cold water, my passion quickly faded. I'm sorry, I have to go home. I picked up the necklace and slid it back into my pocket. She looked surprised. I forced myself to meet her eyes, kept my tone as steady as possible. I told you, I have a family. That's my responsibility. Serena was disappointed, but she didn't say anything more. She just hailed a taxi and left. Before she left, she rolled down the window and said, "If all you think about is responsibility, then you don't love her anymore." And she was right. I didn't love Haley anymore. 15 years. We'd been together for 15 years, and love had long been crushed under the wheels of daily life. But then again, whose love can survive the endless grind of everyday life? Still, I wanted to try again, even if it was only for responsibility. When I got home, my wife was watching some dull TV show. Her hair was a bit messy, an oil stain on her shirt from doing housework. She didn't even notice it, licking food scraps from her teeth while watching the screen. "Did you eat?" "Yeah." That was the extent of our conversation. Just then Serena sent me 2 photos, asking which one looked better. In the photos, Serena looked radiant, beautiful, a stark contrast to the woman beside me. I picked one. She changed her WeChat profile picture to that immediately. At that moment, my wife came over. I quickly flipped my phone screen down, my heart skipping a beat. Luckily, she didn't even glance at me. Haley and I were high school classmates. I was a poor kid. She was a naive girl. We both got into universities in Beijing. You could say we were grind students from a small town. She admired my ambition, thought I'd make a good husband. I thought she was independent, grounded, sincere, a perfect wife. We got married right after graduation. Later, my career took off. I went from junior staff to regional manager. Haley, for the sake of a Beijing residency, became a primary school teacher. Then she had a regular 9 to 5, while I traveled nationwide for business. We communicated less and less. She couldn't understand the hardships of corporate life. I couldn't understand how she became so rigid in her government job. Eventually, she got pregnant. Complications during childbirth left her with lingering effects. She couldn't stand for long, so she quit and became a full-time housewife. From then on, the once independent Haley started to neglect her appearance, rotating just 2 plain tops and a few dark pants. That sweet, considerate wife was slowly replaced by a rigid robotic school teacher. The toothbrush had to be placed on the right. Toothpaste returned to the same spot. Breakfast meant 2 eggs, 1 glass of milk, but only 1 yolk allowed because of cholesterol. Every night, 3 dishes and a soup. Soup first, then vegetables. Only then meat and half a bowl of rice. Not even 1 bite more. If I tried, she would show me health articles, saying too much could lead to diabetes. Even our intimate life was on a strict schedule, once a week, every Sunday afternoon at 4. Why? Because that's when our son was out at tutoring, but only for 2 hours. That kind of scheduled obligation killed any desire I had. We argued a lot because of it. Eventually we stopped, then stopped altogether. Later, our son got into a boarding school. Even then, our intimacy never returned. So over time, the garage became my favorite place to be. Engine off, lights out, lying there in the dark, scrolling through my phone in peace. No one disturbed me. My whole body relaxed, all troubles locked outside the car. I spent more and more time in the garage. It became my secret base. "Did you take the necklace for repair?" My wife's voice pulled me back to reality. My heart skipped a beat. I remembered I was supposed to fix her necklace, but ended up picking up Serena instead. "Tomorrow. Work's been crazy lately. Too many promotions in Q2. I forgot in the chaos. But the truth was, I had been putting it off. A few days ago, Haley brought me the necklace, said she might have dropped it. She looked afraid I'd be angry, but I felt even guiltier. That necklace wasn't real. I had a friend fake it so I could look good when I proposed. I had always planned to replace it with a real one after we got married. But life after marriage, a house, planning for a baby, chasing promotions, one heavy thing after another loaded onto our train, until it could only move forward in a dusty straight line. Romance. There was no space for that. Luckily, The fake diamond had decent quality. It fooled her for years, but now it had broken. The truth was showing. Maybe it couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't keep thinking about it. I stood up. I'm going to shower. Got an early meeting tomorrow. Just then, Haley suddenly stood up and hugged me from behind. You haven't had dinner at home for so long. I just wanted to talk to you. Her voice was full of grievance. My heart tightened. A wave of guilt drowned me. I had once cried at our wedding, swearing I'd love her forever. She'd have everything others had, and more. Back then, just after graduation, Haley worked late into the night to buy me a suit for interviews. She didn't even take a taxi home. The past rushed into my mind like a flood. I turned around and held her tightly in my arms. I kissed her, forehead, cheeks, neck, like raindrops. She responded passionately. We hadn't been this close in ages. It felt like our first love again. Desire reignited. We were enjoying each other again. I pressed her down on the sofa, ready to take the final step, but she suddenly cried out and pushed me away. The new leather sofa. No. I froze, a frown forming on my brow. She realized her overreaction, tried to explain. The leather is hard to clean. Let's go to the bedroom. My desire instantly cooled. A sofa is meant to be used no matter how expensive. What's the big deal? Easy for you to say. You weren't home when the old one broke. I kept telling you to get it fixed, but you were always too busy. In the end, I had to get a new one and carry it up with the delivery guy myself. If this one gets dirty or broken again from all the movement. She stroked the wrinkles on the sofa lovingly. In that moment, we were pulled back to reality. After 15 years, no matter how strong the passion, it always came down to petty annoyances. Even intimacy couldn't match the value of a sofa. Listening to her complaints felt like a cold shower. Serena's words echoed in my head again. If all you think about is responsibility, then you don't love her anymore. Just then, a phone call saved me from the awkwardness. It was my best friend Peter. Where are you? Come out quick. I've got something urgent to tell you. His voice was urgent on the other end. Bar. Neon lights, roaring music packed with people. The table was already covered with drinks, snacks, and fruit platters. I recognized the wine. It was Val de Cava, also known as the Archangel. Not as showy as Lafite, but just as good. Each bottle could easily cost over $10,000. Peter, my old bunkmate from college, was there. He used to be called the sleep god for skipping so many classes. If I hadn't helped him get through, he might not have graduated. But to my surprise, after graduation, he caught a few rising waves, made a killing in Bitcoin, and suddenly became an investor, the first in our class to achieve financial freedom. At the table, Peter was hugging two pretty girls, laughing and playing. He spotted me. Yo, finally dragged you out. What's so urgent? You don't look like a man with urgent matters. He laughed. The urgent thing is enjoying life. He poured me a drink, then told one of the girls beside him to sit next to me. I crossed my arms, uncomfortable. One part of me hated noisy scenes. Another part hated the kind of beauty bought with money. Peter saw my discomfort and laughed even harder. You're still such an old-fashioned man. I shot back. Spit it out. What lie do you need me to tell your wife this time? Peter's wife, Alice, was famously strict. If she found out he was here partying, she'd raise hell. Most likely, Peter called me out to cover for him. But to my surprise, Peter didn't care. He even kissed the girl next to him. No need, he said. She's not going to call you. I froze. Peter raised his glass and drank it all in one go. Let me tell you a secret. My wife cheated on me. The deafening music pounded in my ears. Or maybe it was the shock of what he said. But Peter didn't seem to care at all. In fact, he looked relieved, as if his wife's betrayal was freedom. Inside the quiet VIP room, Peter pulled out a stack of photos. In the pictures, his wife was walking arm in arm with a man. They looked affectionate, as if they'd been married for years. The man's face wasn't clear, but he looked about our age. I noticed the date in the bottom right corner, the 3rd. Peter and I had been out of town for a conference then. We came back on the 5th, so it was true. Peter wasn't joking. His wife really had an affair. What are you going to do? I asked, worried. Just then my phone rang. It was my wife, Haley. Are you home yet? Not yet. You go to sleep first. She sighed. Alice just called. Said Peter got home early. You should head back too. Then only the beeping dial tone was left, and a face I didn't know what expression to wear. Beside me, Peter was smiling cryptically. That smile made me even more uneasy, as if he'd foreseen all of this. Had he and his wife reached some kind of agreement, an open marriage, even a secret pact to cover for each other? Just when I was full of doubts, something shocking happened. Peter took out his phone. He swiped casually, then opened a home surveillance app. The screen showed an empty living room. On the wall was a large photo of Peter and his wife, their arms wrapped lovingly around each other. Seeing it now only made me uncomfortable. Then Peter moved the camera to the bedroom. Two people were lying in bed. I frowned and looked closer. His wife was curled in the arms of someone sleeping peacefully. At that moment, the image of her in my mind shattered. But what disturbed me even more was Peter's calm face. He gestured at the screen. Zoom in. See if you recognize him. I reached out, pinching the screen. The picture got clearer. Color blocks turned into shapes. Finally, I saw it. Crash. The phone dropped to the floor. That face, so familiar, the one in bed with his wife, was Peter himself. When I got home, it was already past 1 in the morning. Haley was lying in bed, her face lit by her phone screen. When did it start? That she spent all her time in bed with her phone, except when she was asleep. Seeing me tiptoeing, she immediately turned off the screen. Asleep. Clearly, she didn't want to talk. On the bedside table, there was a warm glass of milk she had left for me, half warm. As usual, I drank it, got into bed. Then the two of us lay back to back in silence, waiting to fall asleep. So many nights had passed like this. How many more nights like this lay ahead? I felt suffocated. Responsibility is a shackle. Now is the time to break free. For a woman, if all you feel is responsibility, you don't love her anymore. Peter's words, and Serena's too, they echoed in my ears. I couldn't sleep. Eventually, I picked up my phone and texted Peter, "I want to try." Soon Peter replied, "Congrats, bro. Your new life begins." The next day, I followed the address Peter gave me to an office building in the northern part of the city. Peter was already at the door. He welcomed me warmly, then led me into an office, at least 50 square meters, luxuriously decorated, obviously expensive. The wide desk was covered in models. Some were life-sized arms, with visible veins and arteries. Some were molecular models, labeled in English. The desk was packed. Behind it was a black leather swivel chair. Someone sat in it smoking. Peter walked over and respectfully said, "He's here." The chair turned. It was Peter again. Two identical faces, wearing the exact same clothes. Even though Peter had told me about it yesterday, seeing it with my own eyes left me stunned. Peter smiled. "This is what I wanted to introduce you to. Your chance for a new life." He pushed me into the sofa and lit a cigarette for me. I didn't normally smoke, but everything felt surreal. I took it and inhaled deeply. In the smoke, Peter explained, "A year ago, he and Alice visited a tech company in the US. They planned to repackage some tech junk and resell it back in China for profit. But instead, they stumbled on a failing startup working on a bionic human system. Because it crossed ethical boundaries, the experiment was shut down. But by then the tech was already mature, ready for commercial use." Peter saw the opportunity. He bought 25 of the company, became a major shareholder, and became the first person to experience this bionic technology. So the Peter I'd been seeing wasn't Peter. He was Peter's bionic duplicate. Looking at the real Peter on the sofa and the identical one standing straight before me, I couldn't tell who was real anymore. Then the one standing opened his chest. I heard a rhythmic heartbeat, but what I saw were mechanical gears spinning. Peter patted me, his tone serious. "This thing has huge potential. People are too tired nowadays, but he solves that problem. You get to enjoy life. He handles the responsibilities. A perfect copy of you. No cheating, no exhaustion, no distraction." Then he emphasized again, "If you hate your life so much, why not leave?" I asked. "Why pretend? Why fake it with this thing?" "Leave." Peter laughed. "Are you kidding? It's easy to leave, but I'd never do that. And you know why?" I hated that smile of his. He looked like he could see right through me. And yes, I did know why. We were kids from small towns. We worked so hard to get here. Status, career, money. We'd never risk losing it all. After about a month of waiting, a brand new me was finally ready. That night, he would go home in my place. I felt a bit afraid, but more than that, I was excited. So much so that I couldn't concentrate at work during the day. I kept glancing up at the clock. I couldn't wait to get off work. Couldn't wait to know what had happened today. After work, I rushed to Peter's office. Peter was watching the surveillance footage with great interest. On the screen, my wife was sitting on the couch with another version of me watching a TV drama. I turned on the sound and heard me asking her, "Baby, what's this drama about?" Haley looked startled, turning to stare blankly at me. I hadn't called her baby in so long, let alone talk to her about TV shows. It wasn't like I hadn't tried, but I always gave up after a few times because I didn't really care. In the end, it always turned into her watching alone while I scrolled aimlessly on my phone. On screen, this other me was watching with great interest. Haley explained. He nodded and smiled at the right times, even asked questions, chatting animatedly with her. And Haley, she looked genuinely happy, not the kind of smile she wore when we met clients together, but real sincere happiness. I felt a bit guilty, but surprisingly, also a strange sense of relief. Finally, I didn't have to sit through those dumb TV shows anymore. After a while, my wife went to the kitchen to cook. The usual 3 dishes came out: smashed cucumber, scrambled eggs with tomato, steamed fish. Honestly, one reason I didn't like eating at home was because her illness had led to very bland meals, and I'd always loved spicy food. But the version of me in the footage ate with great appetite, even chatted with her about the benefits and tips of eating light. She beamed with joy. After dinner, he volunteered to wash the dishes, and he didn't play on his phone afterward. He stayed by her her side, chatting, watching TV, even cut up some fruit. Before today, I could never have imagined such a scene. I had to admit, this me was a much better husband than I was. If I didn't go home at night, did you think I'd be out fooling around? You were wrong. At night, I checked into a luxury king suite at a 5-star hotel. What does a middle-aged man need most? Not achievement, though that matters too. But I didn't need to think about that anymore. What I needed most now was peace. I lay alone in the hotel room, relishing the rare silence. All night, no one disturbed me. I ordered heaps of barbecue and beer, spicy of course, and turned off my phone, kicked off my shoes on the bed, turned on the TV, and tuned into a sports channel. A soccer match was live. The striker dribbled past the defenders, slammed the ball, and missed wildly inside the penalty box. I chomped on skewers, slapped the table, and cursed the terrible shot, just like back in college. At night, I lay on the bed belly full, the greasy comfort of junk food wrapped around me. A forgotten sense of youth seemed to stir back to life in me. I even dug up those sexy photos Serena had sent me before and reintroduced myself to my right hand. Oh right, Serena still hadn't replied to my message from earlier. It didn't matter. From now on, I could see her openly and freely. After releasing everything, I sank into a deep sleep on the hotel bed. Before dozing off, I took one last look at the home surveillance. Me and my wife were already cuddled up in bed. So intimate, so harmonious. It all looked perfect. I felt a strange stir in my heart, but sleepiness drowned it all, and soon I fell into a deep sleep. Just like that, I partied it up in the hotel for several days, falling asleep drunk every night. I had long forgotten how good it felt to eat, drink, ignore my phone, and not respond to anyone. Funny thing was, one morning I woke up with a hangover, realized it was already 10:30 a.m., and instinctively panicked about being late to work. I quickly threw on clothes and rushed to the company. Just as I was about to enter, I saw the other me in a meeting room, leading a passionate presentation. Oh right, I forgot. He was already handling everything, not just my wife, but work too. I backed out quickly, covered my face like a thief, and left the building. Outside, the sunlight stung my eyes. The documents I brought with me were suddenly completely useless. It had been so long since I had nothing to do. I didn't even know what I should be doing anymore. A wave of emptiness rose in my chest. Just then, Peter called. It felt like grabbing onto a lifeline. I picked up. So bro, how's the new life? Amazing, of course. Cut the crap. You lying on a hotel bed can't be that fun. Balkan Street, no. 35 room 1502. Get over here. I'll show you how to fly. In the daytime, the KTV wasn't open to the public. I arrived at a room in a corner on the top floor. As I opened the door, a wild and intoxicating scene hit me. Smoke filled the air. Music blasted. Young girls with long legs were everywhere, mixed in with a few middle-aged men. In the center, on a big sofa, a nearly half-naked beauty was sitting on Peter's lap, whispering something in his ear. A strange smell filled the room, a mix of desire, decay, and confusion. It made me uneasy. Peter spotted me and waved. I pushed through the crowd and sat beside him. Peter still looked totally relaxed and smug. Come, he nodded to the girl beside him. She immediately poured me a drink and placed it in front of me. Peter gave her a look. She leaned against me, gazing at me with affection. I could feel her skin, so smooth, but I felt a chill. I glanced around and asked Peter, "These guys, they all?" Peter laughed. "No way. You think anyone can just use tech this powerful? These guys heard I had the tech and came begging for one of their own. Whether they get it depends on how well they perform. This private room and the girls, all sponsored by that rich bald guy over there." I looked at the bald man. He was in the dance floor, hugging two girls, puckering up to kiss them. "See how good I treat you. You first, Shally. The next room's ready. Take this big bro over there." The girl next to me leaned all the way in. That indescribable scent seemed to seep into my brain. I couldn't take it. I ran outside and threw up all over the floor. It went on for a while. I finally caught my breath and collapsed onto the ground. Must have been the indulgent eating and drinking these days. My stomach had always been sensitive. Whenever it acted up, my wife would always rush to make her special soothing soup. I used to find it bland and annoying. But now, thinking that, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through social media. My wife had posted a photo of her and the other me. Looking at her in the picture, I almost didn't recognize her. I returned to the hotel, laying on the bed, feeling a hollow emptiness in my heart. At that moment, my phone rang. It was a message from Serena. She told me she had been out of town with a project the past few days and had just gotten back. "Want to grab a meal sometime?" Attached was a selfie of her, still radiant and dazzling as ever. I paused for a second, a flutter in my chest, and quickly agreed to meet. Night fell, and we met at a high-end steakhouse. Serena walked over from afar. She was still so beautiful, still made me feel a burning desire. We sat down. The red wine was rich in aroma, the steak delicious. Serena sat across from me, swirling her wine glass, almost melting me with her smile. We had a great conversation that evening, talking about everything under the sun. Never pausing for a moment, I spoke with ease, and noticed the admiration in Serena's eyes. It felt like heaven. I hadn't felt this happy in a long time. Yes, this is why I chose this kind of life. Why was I hesitating? If I restarted my life with Serena, I would feel alive again. After dinner, I planned to stop by Serena's place for a bit. We were adults, and we both understood what that meant. But just as we stepped out, Serena said she wanted to buy some fruit, so we went to a small shop by the street. She held my arm sweetly. We looked like college lovers who had just started dating. Serena bent down to pick fruits, picking and choosing. I found it funny and urged her on. Stop squeezing them. You're going to ruin all the fruit in the shop. She finally picked up a few cucumbers. Don't you like oranges? I asked. This is better. Your stomach's always been sensitive. You stay healthy, I lose weight. I choked up. That was something Haley used to say too. The shop owner, unaware, smiled and said, wives are like this, always thinking about their husbands. Serena beamed with happiness and stuck her tongue out at me playfully. On the way back, I couldn't help but ask Serena, what kind of person do you want to marry? Serena seemed to think I was hinting at something. Her eyes lit up with longing. Well, he doesn't have to be rich. As long as we can earn enough together, buy a car, a house in a nice city. The house can be small, as long as a family can fit. Then I want to be a full-time housewife. The words escaped my mouth and pulled me back into reality. How did you know? Serena looked surprised. She didn't know. Haley had said that too. To marry me, you'd have to at least buy a house. But if I really love the guy, he wouldn't need to. Just take care of me. Are you easy to take care of? Do you eat a lot? I eat a lot. Every meal needs at least 3 meat dishes and 2 vegetables. No repeats. There has to be fish every time. Then I can't afford to keep you. No, wait, don't leave. If I marry you, I'll eat less. Just a little will do. And I'll be a full-time housewife and fatten you up. In the cold wind, I hugged Haley tightly. We walked side by side through the campus, dreaming of the life ahead. I looked at Serena. She was beautiful, her skin glowing with youth, a little thong peeking out when she smiled. Adorable. Haley was like that too once. What had aged her? Clearly it was the burden of our home. If I left everything behind and married this girl in front of me, maybe we'd have a few passionate days. But after that, we'd have conflicts. We'd get tired. We'd repeat the life I had with Haley. In that moment, I felt a sudden pain in my heart. I didn't know whether I truly loved Serena. Or maybe men can't tell the difference between love and novelty. So that's why people need responsibility and promises to stop men from making foolish choices. If this is a cycle without end, was the problem really with my wife? Or was I the one who walked myself into this dead end? Suddenly, I lost all interest. I declined Serena's invitation to have a coffee at her place. Before leaving, I told her, "You're a wonderful person. You deserve someone who truly loves you." Then I turned away, pulled out my phone, and deleted Serena from WeChat. The autumn wind brushed against my face as I wandered the streets in a daze. Because I had been eating and drinking without restraint, my waistline had noticeably expanded. The belt dug tightly into my stomach. When I found a quiet corner, I quickly loosened it. Only then did I feel like I could breathe again. Back at the hotel, I faced the empty room. No one there. Feeling downcast, I pulled out my phone, opened the app that let me see into my home. In the video, my wife was still there waiting. Dinner was ready, and that me hadn't returned home yet. After a few days apart, my wife actually looked better, delicate and beautiful. She wasn't wearing those greasy old pajamas. Her hair was neatly done. What had changed her so much? Then, me came home. While I was still confused, she even kissed that other me proactively. They looked so loving and harmonious. Inside me, a strange feeling started to rise. Was it sadness? But wasn't this what I wanted to see? I walked into the bathroom, stared at my reflection, saw how panicked and lost I looked. I was no longer that young man. It was me who let my wife down. It was our daily life that wore her down, and I resented her for growing old and tired. But now, she had regained her glow because of a better version of me. Didn't that mean I simply wasn't good enough? It was me who asked her to stay home in the first place. She gave up her future, became the woman of the house. Everything she had done for me, I had completely forgotten. I had broken the promises I once made. Suddenly, I wanted to go home, back to the home Haley and I shared. But now, can I still go back? I decided to give it a try. Step 1, I went to the jewelry store. That old necklace was still there, because I never paid to replace it with real diamonds. They had already called me several times. I went there, spent all my savings, and rushed home with the brand new diamond necklace. Step 2, I needed to bring the humanoid down to the basement. As I mentioned before, the garage had once become my secret base. The box Peter provided to transport the humanoid was still sitting in the garage, following the instructions on the app. The other me soon came down to meet me. He was very polite, smiling as he spoke, which made it hard for me to treat him like a machine. "You've done a good job these days. Thank you for looking after the house." "Thank you," he smiled. "This is what I'm meant to do." He kept smiling, but something about it chilled me to the bone. "It's just that I have some personal things to handle these next few days. You can go back into the box and rest for a while." "Sir, you can leave it to me." this is personal. Your business is my business. I grew a little annoyed, and my tone became impatient. Now, go. Unexpectedly, he lowered his head and muttered, I don't want to go back in there. It's cramped and damp. I was already quite irritated, but then I heard him whispering again, your wife is really nice. We've been getting along well. You really don't know how lucky you are. A wave of fear rose from the soles of my feet and engulfed my entire body. I shouted, get in there. Now, after that, I hurriedly pulled out my phone and pressed the reset button. I didn't expect him to have so much strength. He knocked my hand aside and snatched the necklace I bought for Haley. I suddenly remembered the prototype model I saw in Peter's office. These humanoids had arms 3 times stronger than a human's. In the blink of an eye, he used his other hand to shove me into that box. I fought back with all my strength, but I barely managed one blow before I was defeated. He looked down at me, his face calm and unreadable. Don't worry, he said. Haley and I will be very happy. I'll take good care of her for you. Then, the box was shut. It was dark, wet, and cramped inside. I lay there, struggling desperately. The basement was soundproof. No one could hear me. No one could get in. This was a grave I had dug for myself. Just as I was on the verge of death, my phone rang. I hit the answer button, but I no longer had the strength to speak. On the other end, I heard Peter's familiar panicked voice shouting, my wife took all my money. Then there was only the dial tone, and I, in the darkness, completely lost consciousness. I didn't know how much time had passed. When I woke up in a hospital bed, a huge wave of dizziness washed over me. I tried to get up, but I had no strength at all. Beside me was a blurry figure. I squinted and saw it was my wife, Haley. Haley sat by the bed, and when she saw me awake, she became excited and quickly got up to fetch me a glass of water. I grabbed her hand, wanting to explain everything that had happened. But when I opened my mouth, all I could say was, I'm sorry. Haley lowered her head and quietly said, I actually always knew. I was stunned. You knew. Knew what? Haley set the glass aside, sighed, and turned to look at me. What I'm about to say might be hard for you to believe, she said seriously, holding my hand tightly. Alice discovered this project first. She knew Peter was always fooling around, but he didn't want to get divorced and lose his money. So he used cold violence at home instead. Alice had had enough. She found out about this project, pretended not to know anything, and let Peter take the bait. I was shocked, trembling, as I asked her, so I was also part of your and Alice's plan? She nodded. Alice had had enough of Peter, enough of his coldness every time he came home, and of catching him cheating over and over. And you drifted further and further away from me, often hiding for hours in the basement. All I saw in your eyes was indifference. I figured you didn't love me anymore. Instead of forcing you to keep pretending to be a good husband, throwing me scraps like a beggar, I thought maybe it's better to just end it. She leaned over me and began to cry. I froze. A long time passed before I finally gathered the strength to ask, then, why did you save me? She pulled the diamond necklace out of her pocket. Because of this, I looked at her, a flood of guilt and sorrow welling up inside me. I actually knew long ago that this necklace was fake, but in marriage, little things like that don't matter. She paused. Her tears fell onto the back of my hand. If you ask me whether I ever resented you or thought about letting you disappear and living with the perfect version of you, of course I did. When he came back after locking you in that box, he told me what he did. For a moment, I really considered it. She smiled through her tears and continued, but then he said he wanted to give me this necklace. That's when I knew. It must have been you who fixed it, replaced it with real diamonds. Because this was a rift between you and me. Before he was created, a humanoid only learns the instructions that make people happy. He would never know about the broken necklace. As I listened, tears streamed down my face. At that moment, I knew you still had me in your heart. The man I fell in love with, who cared about saving face, who bought a fake necklace to fool me, but secretly went back to replace it with a real one. Maybe you weren't perfect, but you were the real you, the one I once loved. I sat up and held her tightly. Haley, I was wrong. I truly was. These years, I failed you. We held each other, crying. Thank you for forgiving the imperfect me. Can you give me a second chance? I looked up. Her eyes were full of tenderness. Then, she held me even tighter. She didn't say anything, but I knew. Her silence held the answer. Memories began to fade and dissolve in my mind, but the beautiful ones emerged one by one, like frogs chirping after the rain, awakening the happiness we once shared. I held her tightly, afraid she would vanish, afraid that I would vanish. Later, one night, my wife and I threw the humanoid box and all into the river. I also lost contact with Peter. I only heard that he had completely changed, sold off his assets, stopped fooling around, and started going home on time every day. He became the textbook model husband. I wasn't sure whether to believe it until Alice's birthday, when my wife and I were invited to attend. As we walked into the private room, I finally saw Peter. He had lost a lot of weight, quit smoking and drinking, and looked newly in love with Alice. Like newlyweds, the two wives chatted, and Haley mentioned my plan. I was going to quit my job and take her to Shaman for a peaceful life. Alice was jealous, grumbling to Peter beside her. Peter immediately said, "Then I'll take my queen to Italy. We can't lose to them." I watched Peter from the side, a sense of unease rising in my chest. Eventually, I ran into him on the way to the bathroom. "Are you really Peter?" Or, I gathered my courage and asked the question. Peter smiled, just about to answer, but inside the room, Alice waved at him, calling him over to cut the cake. Peter quickly returned. Alice jumped up and wrapped her arms around his neck, giving him a kiss. Peter cut the cake and said to Alice, "I'll never take this happiness for granted again." Everyone burst out laughing, and the sound of the birthday song. Everyone celebrated the joy of the moment, but I had fallen into the deepest fear. The end. If you like Kitten's story, please follow and like it. Updated every morning at 9 a.m.